I looked it over when I first got it sent to me, and then this morning I was like, you know, I should probably say out loud what I want to say real quick. I'm that kind of person.
That was me even having to learn speeches for speech class, have to like memorize them, actually like rehearse them over and over again, which I did not. I didn't do that for this, so I hope that.
Mine is like nature at this point. Like it just flows. As long as I know what I'm supposed to say, as long as I know what I want to say, I'm good.
It's good.
As long as fright doesn't like seep in too much, you know what I mean? So I start like stuttering. But besides that, I'm good.
Yeah, I feel like I do that kind of sometimes too. I start rambling.
The ums and the ands and the
That's
buts,
what I'm
you
about
know
to
what I
say. You gonna hit
mean?
me with my
Yeah, you
Part of my performance, like when I'm performing, I'm like, the part that I struggle with the most is what to say between songs. So like, I'm a singer. I don't want to, and I love talking to people, but when I'm talking to people on stage,
two
it's
different
like,
things.
people don't respond to you most of the time. They're not supposed to. So it's weird to like talk to people and not like in a conversational, like,
I know what you
your
mean.
one-on-one conversation.
You know Tiny Desk?
Yeah.
So Mac Miller had the best banter in between. And he's like, I think I'm supposed to talk in between these songs, but let's just stand here and give each other looks. How's everybody doing? Banter, 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 friendly banter.
That's so true though.
I'm singing songs for you.
Right, you're welcome. Let's do this and let's get it over with. My half of my thing is like especially when I'm here, like hosting and emceeing. But it's different than when I'm doing poetry. When I'm hosting, I do like I'll be like, if you can hear my voice say yeah, I make you talk to me. If you can hear my voice say oh yeah, I make sure we're engaged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me hear you snap. Let me hear you
Tell
snap.
them what to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
and do. Yeah. That's good because I feel like audiences don't know how to interact with you a lot of the time, you know?
Oh, I got you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Before the end of the show, you know who I am.
Then I need to take some notes from you. I'm getting like, it's easier, like, I've been trying to play some shows out of town more, and so it's easy to have something to say and remember, like, say my name a lot, because people probably aren't going to see me there again, because I'm just, like, up there for, like,
Your social media,
yeah, social media.
all of
and,
that stuff.
Hey, I'm based out of Wilmington, and then that gets people talking to you. Oh, you're from Wilmington. You know, it gives them something to talk
It's
to you
all
about.
like the little key. My shows are formatted the same way, but it's always different because of one element, be it a person, be it somebody's first time performing, being something like that. It's set up the same way, but it's always different. I just always have my key stuff to make sure I'm still engaging. And it is something as simple as being like, I am X, Y, and Z, I'm from here, I do this, and then I feel like sometimes when you're losing a crowd, it's good to bring everybody back together in unison somewhere, somehow. So just having a format for that, and then all the rest of it is like, we're here, man. This is what we're doing.
I feel like you guys like definitely have it in like a harder because you guys are more in like a more intimate setting. Like with us, it's like we're playing loud music the whole time.
Right.
So if I'm like, how far we doing tonight? Everybody's already loud. So it's just
Yeah.
everybody's kind of like screaming back.
That
at each other.
always makes it easier when I'm in a loud bar where there's a lot of talking. It's like it is definitely easier.
Yeah. The more intimate setting, like like if when I'm playing with like my band, maybe help set up playing with the
Not
band,
technically.
but
I'm
I
just
stage fright is
hosting and
like
walking
anything
around
like I
and
don't have
giving
to
my
be
2
nervous
cents
the whole
anyway.
time.
Dang
If I
it.
go to open mic, I'm like,
Yeah. It's like people who play voice in the pen are like, I don't get nervous at my regular shows, but on voice in the pen I get nervous, or like live at TEDs because it's so quiet, it's a listening room environment.
it's a
So
different beast. It's a different beast. That's
yeah,
why I like
it's like, can you guys please talk so that I'm not
See,
so
and
focused on?
that was my like vision and goal of having
Come on.
something intimate, where if it is only 15 or 20 people, as an artist, you know you have 15 or 20 people sitting here paying
Thank you. I was
attention to
feeling
you
lonely
and
over
your
here.
craft. And it's not to be, it's only a stepping stone to practice your craft. When you write a new song, you need a place to practice. You want to try it out on people. That's what I invite, and that's what I offer.
Oh, are you doing the playlist? I love it.
Milk, how do we kill the house music?
I like your rap.
How do we what?
How do you kill the house music?
Sean,
Yeah.
kill it.
Heard.
Oh, you're on that? Okay.
Come on now.
I'm on now.
Woo.
My brother's friend made it. Around.
Take the time when one of our panelists ran up to the bathroom to start, so that was good. Hi, everybody. My name's Delia. I am your host of our first workshop for this workshop series. Oh, thank you. Yes, we started here at the Painter and Poet Studio. We are really excited. This is an idea I've had for a long time, and I'm really excited to have involved Voice and Pen, and of course the Painter and the Poet Studio, which is where we are right now. So take a good look around, because there's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on in here. Mlk Jacobs is the owner of the studio, and the person who is kind of the brainchild behind the Painter and the Poet. So if you have any questions after this workshop or just in general about the space and what goes on here, you can see a little calendar of events back there, and you can kind of see what type of reoccurring events that we have going on in here. But Mlk can answer any questions that you have about that. The other sort of backer of this is Voice and the Pen, which we are streaming to the Facebook and YouTubes of. And of course, here's Emily from Voice and Pen. And so if you have any particular questions about that, some of us know, of course, Emily, but Voice and the Pen because probably you've been included in some of their showcases and things like that that they are doing around town. And of course, Mlk and Emily are two of our wonderful panelists. We also have Brian from Escape Velocity here, and Rebekah Todd over there at the other end. All of our panelists today are going to be speaking to our theme, which is being over branding, cultivating an authentic audience. And what I mean by being over branding is the idea that branding is sort of a corporate term, and it's kind of something that we all have to get to know. And I think a lot of musicians feel pressured to hit a mainstream audience or do things that everybody will like. And instead of doing that, I want us to think about finding our own authentic way to reach our audience, and not just mainstream people, everybody you possibly can, but an audience that's going to be loyal to you, that's going to be excited about what you are doing, that sees and is interested in the unique things that you do as an artist and a musician, and is going to get behind that and back that. And the folks on our panel can really speak to that and are working towards finding that. And many of us in this room, I mean, I see a lot of musicians in Wilmington who are doing just that, just now, who are successfully doing that. So I hope you don't mind, some of you, if I point you out. And also talk about this, because you're doing it. What we all have in front of us are the same questions that I'm going to be asking the panelists. So I see some of us brought notebooks and laptops, awesome. And also feel free to write all over this. These are the same things that I'm going to be asking the panelists and that we are going to be discussing. So if you have a sudden flash of inspiration as we're going along, please take notes, write all over this, write through it. Please feel free to add to the discussion as we go. Our goal for this is really to have a kind of conversational vibe to it, and not just like, here's our experts and they are dictating to you how to do the thing, but rather that we can all learn from each other. We're all musicians or artists or creatives in some way, and it's a very each one teach one vibe here. So the first thing that we are going to do is just sort of go through our panel, and I'm hoping that our panel can just introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they do. We'll start with you, Rebekah.
Okay. Testing, 1, 2. Can you hear me back there? You got it? Okay. My name's Rebekah, and I like long walks on the beach. No, I'm a musician, but outside of it being a musician, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been working on a lot of different things, including hospitality with property, and I'm currently working on my first retreat that is going to involve all ladies, non-binary, trans, divine feminine beings. So, super excited, and that's me.
Woo. You guys don't have to snap because I'm snapping. I just snap whenever I hear something that I like. I am Malcolm, but today you guys get the privilege of meeting Mr. Mlk Jacobs, aka Mr. Don't Clap for Me, Snap for Me. And when I say that, I actually mean it. So that's why I snap all the time. I'm a poet, and when I first started doing poetry, I really thought about the origin of poetry, and that's what we did. We would snap back in the day. I run this place, this idea called The Painter and the Poet. Very, very excited to be here with everybody, and I'm a man of few words, so I'm gonna cut it right there.
Snap, snap.
Aw.
Snap, snap. I'm Emily Burdette. I've been playing in Wilmington, solo artist for about 10 years now, on and off, and co-created Voice of the Pen 2 years ago, and am so happy that it's been going on for as long as it has, and pairing up with Delia now, having these amazing workshops. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about that.
Testing. Good. Okay. My name is Brian. I play guitar for Escape Velocity. We're a progressive metal instrumental band, excuse me. We've been playing for roughly about 6 years, I'd want to say. We've been going out of town a lot, playing some local shows as well, doing benefits, doing festivals, Port City Blitz. It's probably the main one. Shout out to Rocket 77. But yeah, hopefully I can give some insight to you guys that would help out with anything you may need.
Panelists. First question I have on here is, how do you describe your music or organization to people? Most of us are musicians in this room. I think the number one question we get a lot, whether it's from venues or random bar patrons walking by, is what kind of music do you play? You're like, stick around and find out. But it is a question that comes up. It is a question that can sometimes be a little frustrating to answer. But some of you on the panel, especially Rebekah and Brian, have come up with some unique ways of describing your music. So why don't you tell us how you describe your music when people ask you, what type of music do you play?
That is the worst question ever. I hate that question so much because people look at you like, you have 4 eyes. When they want like a 5-word answer, my bio says cosmic soul rock. And even I'm like, what does that mean? I have no idea, but I just try to paint a pretty generalized idea.
It sounds interesting. And it
Sure.
makes me find out more.
Yeah, but it's hard to summarize, basically your whole life into 5 words, which is what the industry wants. And they want it very specifically on the streaming platforms. That's where they make you choose. They make you say, what's your main category? Are you rock or country? And you're like, oh gosh. Actually, I think they didn't even have rock recently. It was like country, hip hop, and something else. And I was like, I'm not any of, what am I? I don't know what I am. So yeah, they make you start there, and then you have to subcategorize yourself. So it's challenging. But yeah, cosmic soul rock. You tell me what it means, because I don't know.
Just on that note, since you do describe it, I think it's fun when I see that described that way. Because like I said, I think it's intriguing and kind of makes you want to know more. How did you decide on those adjectives, particularly the cosmic one?
Yeah. I think I saw, I played a gig in Charlotte with Daniel Donato, who's really been taking off lately, but he was going as Cosmic, and I was like, yeah, I like, mushrooms, so Cosmic, sure, let's go with that. That's really how that started. Thank you, Daniel Donato.
You're not a musician, but you obviously have to tell people what the painter and the poet is, even though the adjectives are sort of in the organizational name. But how do you describe this to people when people ask you what you're doing here?
I used to be a rapper until I realized I was a poet. And then once I started doing poetry, I wanted to take out the music and create something that was more intimate, more bare, where the connection that I have with the crowd is what I'm saying at that point in time. And the way I describe it is the pocket of space, the headspace that I'm currently in. We write towards our emotion, and when I create, that's what I gear it towards. So it really depends on what day to figure out why I wrote that the way I wrote it, I guess.
Emily, I know you can speak to a couple of different things because you're juggling both your solo music career and with your duo and bands now. You have a full brass band as well, and you're also running Voice in the Pen, which again sort of is a little bit self-identifying in its name. But how did you choose the Voice in the Pen as the name, and then how do you sort of describe your music to other people when they ask you what type of music they play?
So for Voice in the Pen, that name came to me really quickly. It was really as simple as, what are we doing here? And it's about the original music, and the voice is the singer and the pen is the songwriter. So it was like, this is a focus on singer-songwriter and what they write for their music. So it took me 15 minutes to think of that, and I was like, wow. And I really liked it, and it seemed like it caught on pretty quickly, and everybody seemed to like it. So even though it felt like a big decision to make the name, but it's worked out well. And then for my music, that's such a hard question. Like everybody up here said, it's like you might look for something that's not even on the list, the drop-down list. I've always said pop folk because I don't feel like my music is super poppy, but it's not really folksy either. So I've always kind of said a blend of those, or singer-songwriter, which doesn't really describe very much to people, but I mean that's the genre I guess I would call myself. So.
Yours is one of my favorite. You can see one of Brian's shirts up there. Aggressive instrumental.
Yes.
And like Rebekah's, it's one of those kind of subgenres, I guess you could say, that intrigues you and makes you go, what is that?
Yeah, so we kind of came up with the aggressive instrumental thing. One of my favorite bands is, I'm from New York, and one of my favorite bands is from Long Island, and they had a shirt very similar to this, and theirs was Uneasily Listening, and we love that, and yeah, because sometimes we do have some very aggressive parts in our music, but we also have very pretty ambient parts to kind of balance out, take you on a ride, I personally love to write heavy stuff, but I also really like to I like to write pretty parts. I like to play a lot of fingerstyle, a lot of some of my favorite players are Matesa Sato and those guys, but then I could, switch it and listen to Deftones and anything that kind of, makes you want to get in the car and drive really fast. No pun intended to their song. And yeah, so that's really how we kind of came about with that. But we also have other visuals as well. I have a script writing back there, but can I flip it real quick and you show? Okay. So I'm also really into tattoos. And my tattoo artist made this for us. I told her I was like a lady had glowing space dust, escape velocity, kind of keep everything together. And that's all I told him. I gave him a little bit of a reference, and he ran with it. So yes, aggressive instrumental, but we also have the beautiful side of it as well.
Any folks sitting here who play music want to say what type of stuff they want? When you get asked what kind of music do you play, what do you say to them? Joel, you play a lot with bands. Do you have something that you tell people?
With the Cowboys, I kind of say we're kind of at the intersection of gospel, country, folk, rock kind of thing.
I like that, at the intersection of. Yeah. That kind of opens the door to put a couple of different genres at people.
You got three-way or four-way stuff.
Right.
It's a Venn diagram, right? It's like
Yeah, right.
sometimes I'm somewhere in the middle there.
Imagine saying that to someone who came. What kind of music play? Imagine a Venn diagram. And like I said, folks, for those of us who haven't totally parsed out that question yet and still kind of stutter when people ask us what type of music do we play, what type of art do you do, or whatever, feel free to sort of write down some of this stuff as we're talking, just for later purposes, to say, okay, if you can kind of get my name is so-and-so, and I play XYZ down to a nice one-sentence thing, that is going to be very helpful, especially in our future workshops. Like our next workshop next month is going to be for booking, and that's your first line to venues and folks that you're trying to book with right off the bat. The next question I have on here is, how did you decide your stage name, band's name, organizational name? Some of us just have our name. But Rebekah, I know you also have a band, the Odyssey, and of course we have some organizational names. Emily, I know you also have now formed a larger band that isn't just your name, and like mine pop out of Delia and Friends, my band name. But Rebekah, how did you decide on the Odyssey when you include other folks in your music?
Yeah. So it started off just me as a solo artist. Then I became a duo, and we were traveling around. It was Rebekah Todd. And then I met a band in Greenville, North Carolina. This was like 12 years ago. I'm showing my age. But we started touring, and when I said Rebekah Todd, everyone thought that meant an acoustic female, which are not always treated very fairly. So, people had an idea of what the sound was going to be. And I had to start expressing to people, no, this is more than that. This is a whole band. And so I had to add a tag to my name, and I added Rebekah Todd in the Odyssey. And then that grew a life of its own. People, as musicians, those of us who do it for longer than 3 years, the musicians come and go. Life happens. People move. They join other bands. They get married. They have children. They just can't play with you. And I've just been continuing for almost 2 decades now. So people started to say, wait, this isn't the same Odyssey. And then 3 months later, 6 months later, they'd be like, wait, where's the one guy from the Odyssey? And I would be like, I'm so tired of all these questions of this band that they expect to be this perfect forever band. So I'm just going to go back to Rebekah Todd. And one time I had Rebekah Todd on Spotify, and then I started that band, and I thought, I'm going to start a new Spotify account, and this goes into the branding side, and call it Rebekah Todd and the Odyssey. And I had a agent at that time out of New York City, and he was like, yeah, I think that, if you start 2 Spotifys, you're going to compete with yourself. So don't ever put Rebekah Todd in the Odyssey on anything. Don't ever make T-shirts. Don't make a website. Don't make a Spotify. Just let the people say that. Let that brand catch on to word of mouth. And that's what I did, and it worked out. And now that I made that decision 12 years later to go back to Rebekah Todd, I haven't harmed myself in any way. The Spotify is still there. The, what was it? MySpace, Reverb Nation, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram. Now we're on TikTok, Threads, whatever. Just pick one and stick with it forever because you'll compete with yourself, so, yeah.
And now that you mention it, I guess I do the same thing. Even though I have Delia and Friends, everything goes under Delia Stanley. I never started something separate.
Yeah.
Which just sounds like it's probably for the best.
Yeah, it is in the long run.
Mlk, you have the painter and the poet. Again, it sounds like it's pretty self-explanatory. So when I say, how did you decide on that?
Well, we'll do both. Story time, yay. 4th grade, I was walking to the store with my friend, and he goes, man, you're dark like this Milky Way bar. You're dark like this Milky Way bar. So I started being called variations of milk, milky, milk dud, chocolate milk. It just happened. It stuck since 4th grade. And then by the time I got to high school, all of my friends, guy friends, were like, we're not calling you Milky anymore. You're just going to be Milk. We're just going to call you Milk. And it's interesting, right? Because I've always been Mlk Jacobs, but the spelling changed. It wasn't, at first it was Milky, then it was Milk, and then it was Mlk Jacobs, and then now it's Mlk Jacobs. And this is the involvement. And another fun fact, my name is Malcolm, so I like to play on MLK and Malcolm. I really like that. And the painter and the poet, obviously I'm a poet, but this thing started back in 2015 where I was hosting a show with my best friend who was a painter. And when he told me he was a painter, like I was like, okay, but what does that mean? But then I seen his paintings, and I already had like a platform at that time, and I got to get this stuff out there, man. I really got to get this stuff out there. So we're gonna do a show. We're gonna call it The Painter and the Poet. And like how you were talking about the voice and the pen, it took me a while, probably like 3 weeks before I knew what to name this building. And I was just sitting there and I was like, duh, The Painter and the Poet. It already has like a following. It already has its own identity. So why not? Yeah.
Emily, again, you can speak to both voice and pen, and obviously a lot of us just use our names as they are when we're doing music stuff, but you have started a new band called the General Assembly. And I'm interested to know how you got to that name as well.
So I can tell a little of the story. I don't remember all the details, but Frank Sellers started our band. He's like the lead male vocals and acoustic guitar player. There used to be a place, and I think it was in Wilmington. That's the detail I don't remember. That was actually called the General Assembly. It was like a little store of some sort, and a woman that he knows brought up and was telling the story about that, and he, for some reason, he just was like, that'd be really cool. I like that name for a band. Like, what do you guys think? And the rest of us, like, nobody really threw out any other names, and we all liked it, which is, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's unusual for a band to agree that easily on a name, but we were like, cool, works for us. So, yeah, I was like, that's cool, and I always think that, I always hear band names. I'm like, how did they come up with that? Because there's always something like your band name. Like there's always something that's like unique and cool about band names. So yeah, that one just was thrown out, and we went with it. And as far as voice in the pen, I explained the singer, the songwriter is the focus of that showcase series. So just made sense to call it that. And so I go by Emily Burdette, but with my duo now, I go, and if I play as a trio, I just call it Burdette Duo or Burdette Trio, mostly because I've been playing long enough in the town that if I were to call it something else, people wouldn't know that it was me. So I wanted to use my last name still so that people would be like, oh, that's Emily and her duo, rather than give it a whole new name. So that was the thought process behind just being Burdette Duo, Burdette Trio. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of like along the lines of what Rebekah was talking about with the Spotify thing. Like, I don't want to put out music that's like my duo under a whole other name because,
An important thing that you both kind of have spoken to, that if you are working hard to establish yourself under a certain name, and especially if it's your own name, you want to keep that going. So even if you do start to play with other people, and there's definitely something to be said about wanting to have a cool, fun band name, but details of your own success, letting people know that that's still you, but you've just added a few new cool things to it. I think that's an important thing. Brian, you have a cool band name. How did you come up with it?
So unfortunately, I didn't come up with it. Our drummer, Alex, great friend of mine, great human all around. He came up with it. If I remember correctly, because like I said, it's been like 6-7 years that he told me about it. So, I'm getting old, man. I don't even remember what I did last week. So my interpretation of it, it is to escape speed, which is, if I remember correctly, is the speed that you need to get to space. And I take that as like, do what you got to do to get to the next part, to get make something fresh what's out there. You know what I mean? Like I think like discovering like space is probably a good way to do it, because I think that's what he was thinking about. Like I said, it's been a very long time since we came up with the name, and we've been doing this thing. So I could just, like I said, I just explain my version of it, but I think what we do is where we try to mix genres and stuff like that, and we really just try to go to the next, just try to push ourselves onto the next thing, and that's the way I like to interpret the band name. So I should have asked them. I could have gave you a stronger answer. Yo, bro, I know you're working. Come on, yo, real quick. I'm on camera.
That's very interesting. Thank you, Brian. I like that. So I have a little story because our next question is about fonts, symbols, logos, things like that. I was playing recently at a spot. I was upstairs. A friend was walking around town. They didn't know I was playing up there. They heard my voice. They knew it was recognizable, but I looked a little different than I did. So they weren't sure if it was me. And then they said they saw the lightning bolts that I carry around. I have this like bright lightning bolt, and I use the lightning bolt on my logos, and I have tattoos of it and all this stuff. And I tried to really like make that a thing that I use over and over, consistent branding. So when he said, and then I saw the lightning bolt and I knew it was you. Yes, it's working.
It's working, yeah.
So on that note, are there some logos or symbols that you find yourself attached to that you use a lot over and over as a consistent brand, promotion, marketing, merchandise, and if so, why? Where'd you get that from? Let's go now from the other side. Brian, you kind of explained a little bit about Space Lady.
Yeah. So I'm gonna actually start with the shirt that I'm currently wearing right now. It's our original like T-shirt, and has like a little swirl in the back. Me.
Go ahead.
So the swirl came from we had our little practice space that we used to live in this house. It was me, Alex, and whoever ex-third roommate would be. They were always weird, but we had this tapestry that me and him we just really loved, and it was just this space swirl, and we hung it like right behind his drum set, and we always just like whenever we practiced, it's always there. It was always just a thing, and one day I just took a picture of like my guitar rig, his drum set, and our bass player stuff, but that thing was like it was just there, and we were always like, hey, maybe we should make something of this, like make it like an homage to our original practice space, which eventually we ended up getting kicked out of there because it was just a mess. But so now that this swirl lives on because of that tapestry, I still have the tapestry. So we started off with that, and that was our original actually logo as well that we used to put on our flyers and any for shows or anything like that. And then as our sound evolved, we started looking into other designs and stuff like that. So we had our lady head, which originally came from a really big banner that I got. They were like, you want an 8x10? And I was like, sure. I get the thing, and it's like, it's as big as, this panel right now. And people were like messaging us. It was big. And people were like, if you put that on shirts, I will buy that. And we just kept getting that message. And I was like, what do you guys think? And luckily my buddies, they were right on board, and we went ahead and did a little space theme lady head there. And then now this is our current form, I guess you could call it. It's all old English writing, a little bit more aggressive, more in your face kind of logo. Nowadays that is what we're using on all of our flyers, like I said, a lot of our T-shirts. And it just kind of shows that I think the evolving of the band and having separate things to kind of distinguish a certain stage of where we were, and that's what I really like about that. And the fonts kind of speak per design. I don't think a script writing would look really nice with an aggressive instrumental thing. So we went with the Old English to kind of be, like I said, more in your face kind of thing. The script writing showed more of an elegance to the lady head. And then for this, we kind of went with an 80s theme. My tattoo artist, Drew Susi, was like, hey, I want to do something really cool. And he came up with this box lettering and then the swirl in the back. I think that's all. Yes, I think that's every.
I think that's a good point just to make there, because I know that I get nervous and kind of stuck in like executive dysfunction land if I feel like I have to choose something that's forever or ever. So like it's okay to have something that represents you,
Yes.
and then reassess it every once in a while.
Yep.
And say, okay, what now? Is there
Yep.
I'm moving into a different stage or a different era of our music? We can reassess the font, we can reassess the logo.
Yeah.
So even if you choose something, a symbol, a font, something that represents you or you're using on all of your flyers, you're using a lot, it's okay to start to think about something else. You don't have to get stuck with it forever.
Yeah,
But
don't pigeonhole yourself. We're all creative individuals, so we can show it in so many different ways. Your T-shirts, and people.
And then you can call that the vintage logo.
Yeah, we call this the OG. I wrap all the shirts and I put a piece of tape and it's like OG, and the guys already know. It's like, oh yeah, that's the black and blue one.
That's the
Yeah.
original.
Yep.
Emily, what about you? It looks like you have a kind of new logo.
Yeah. And then I'll have to grab some of the voice in the pen stuff too. But so this logo, this is one of my stickers. This is just like, you see this, I guess, kind of a lot with musicians, the cassette tape. But I had an artist that I met at a market at Satellite. He was selling T-shirts and things, and I really liked his style. So I asked him if he would make a logo for me, and he drew this and kind of made it his own unique version of a cassette tape, and he did the whole font for that too. So I didn't choose it. It was just like he drew up a few things, and I said yay or nay on it. But so that's my older one. But then I was going for something a little bit just to update it. This is one of the new ones. I have two. I only brought one because I like both of them. One's like a bird with a guitar under it because I was trying to do a play on Burdette with the bird and the guitar. And this actually was kind of inspired by like the Dave Matthews dancer. So the bird is kind of flowy looking like that. And then I just had Burdette put on some of them because, again, with going with the duo or if I'm a trio, I still have the last name on there. That's recognizable. And then the voice in the pen. Let's see. Grab that. So this is this is a poster that my friend Jesse Esterline designed, and he took a picture of the Wilmington Bridge and then put it on Canva and designed it that way. And again, with the font, he just chose something that was really readable. And the cool thing about this that not everyone knows is this is a soundbite from Emily Marriott and Zach Bose. Both of them performed on Voice in the Pen and then passed away soon after. So that was kind of a tribute to them. So I like to share that little detail that it was Jesse's idea to do that. And I was like, that's really cool. So specific sound bites. And then we have T-shirts as well with our logo. This logo was made by Reagan Simon. She has a business called Mlk NC. If you're ever going around Wilmington, some restaurants and other little shops have her pots in them. She makes planters. Usually they're like square shaped. And they're just really cool. She had them at a market. Again, I met her at a market, and I really liked her logo. So when I was looking for someone to do a logo for us, she sent me a few different ideas. I was like, Voice in the Pen, what can you come up with? And she sent me different like cartoon ideas with like microphones. And this microphone is really cool because it's the microphone and then it has a little quill pen bottom. And she took like the cord and like kind of broke it off. It just turned out really well. I was very happy with the logo. So yeah, I mean, markets are a good way to meet people to do graphics for you because they've got their art right in front of you. And then here's some hats with the logo as well. So, yeah, I like to support local artists for anything. I'm always like, oh, this person does this. This person is such a creative community, so there's always somebody around that can do.
Emily, would you mind terribly if we pass some of just the smaller stickers
Yeah,
around so
sure.
folks can see them? Do you mind
Yeah.
if I-
Yes. You can pass the hat if you want.
Pass the hat.
Stick. I can see it. It's a cool hat. And the button.
Oh, this is so cute. Mlk, are there some particular symbols that the painter and the poet uses? I know you have. Oh yes, you still have that. There's definitely for type. I know that you have a particular aesthetic you like to maintain, certain colors that you like to use, and things like that.
Like, I have to do the Mlk the poet / artist and then Mlk the owner, because it's two different things that go on here. This shirt actually this is my original logo. Back when I lived in Charlotte, me and my brothers got together, and it says original on here. And what we would do is 5 of us, and what we would do was get together and we would just brainstorm ideas. And in the process of brainstorming ideas, we had this collective of other artists that wanted to be a part of what we were doing, the thing that we were creating. So we did the originals to let everybody know, yeah, we a family, we out here, but we're the original ones that thought about that. The red and the black was because my best friend Black, these were his favorite colors. So in some sort of way, this first logo pays tribute. My logo for myself was a teddy bear with a book back on. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Linus, with the kid with the blanket. That's my blanket, my book bag. And the bear had a book bag on, and at the time I was known for wearing a bucket hat. So the bear had a bucket hat on. But it was still the same blue colors that you see like on the trim. Everything that I tried to do, especially nowadays, has to be warm, welcoming, open type of feeling. The painter and the poet logo, as you can see, has a paintbrush, and then it has the pencil. That was my idea. But like we were saying, I have an idea. I'm very artistic in certain type of ways, but because my friends are so talented, it's like, why would I sit here and do it when I can be like, hey, this is my idea. Can you draw something up for me? And can we work that way? And that's just the way it always progressed with me. I've just been truly blessed to consistently have talented people around me. So most of the things that you'll see visually, if it's painting, if it's a logo, if it's something like that, it's really one of my friends that support me and took creative freedom over it, pretty much.
Rebekah, do you have a snack for creative friends?
Yeah.
Rebekah, do you have some symbols that you're like your go-to, or color patterns, or things like that? Since you said you've been doing this over a vast amount
Long
of time,
time.
how have those things come up and
Yeah.
spoken to what you were doing at the time?
Well, I guess to piggyback off of what you were saying, the creativity of your friends is, this is sort of a side of what I wanted to say, but yeah, like it's so beautiful to have the original idea. Like maybe I write a song on an acoustic guitar. We start there. Then I take it to the studio and tell the producer, okay, I want to make this a full band song. We bring the band in. The band listens to this song and they say, well, okay, it kind of has this vibe, but I think it should be a little faster or slower. I think it should be a little darker. Maybe we add a saw. Maybe we, like all these different sounds to paint the vibe in the sound. And then from there, you put it on an album. Then you make a music video. And some visual artist takes it and they turn it into a whole nother beast. So something that started on a simple acoustic guitar can then turn into this entire story that you didn't create. I mean, you started the first bit. And I like to say that your art grows legs. So you start it, but the moment you share it with anyone, it's not yours anymore. And that's the beauty of art to me. Some songs that you write you might sing it at somebody's wedding, and they're going to remember that song forever, and it creates a life in their world, you know, like they hear that song and they always think of the day they got married or whatever. So the thing I wanted to say is I like to think of it as a triangle. There's the main brand, that's like your logo, that the lightning bolt or whatever, that's your main thing everybody knows you by. But then you have your project brand, and every project is a different journal entry for me in that period in my life. So I like to tell my stories as authentically as I possibly can, whether people like it or not. Yeah, snap to that. So, like, I had a journey in 2020 where I was very sad, going through a lot of different things, and I was either going to turn to antidepressants or I was going to try out some plant medicine. So I tried out some plant medicine and had a couple, you know, giant insights, and the yellow ginkgo leaf was a big thing in my life. So I took that one small little leaf and I used that as the basis for the next album that I put out. So that color became the color of the vinyl. And in the music video, you know, I told the artist, if you could just incorporate this leaf, that would really tie it all together for me. And so the project brand versus the main brand, you know, those are things to think about. On a more literal note, Emily, you spoke about Canva. Has everybody used Canva?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. It's so amazing, right? So anybody listening to this later, Canva, Canva, it's an incredible website. It's like the old school design where you would go to a designer and they would have all the swatches of colors and stuff, and that was the brand for your house. You can do that on Canva. And it sounds like everybody knows it, so I'm just going to say this for the listeners. But yeah, you go on Canva. You can build a brand kit if you pay for the pro package. It's like $16 a month. So worth it.
And it's like, I think it's at tops like $120, $130 a
Yeah,
month,
yeah.
and it's completely worth it. And I just don't have to interrupt you.
No.
When you do pay for the pro, those graphics and stuff that you have on Canva that you're altering for your brand can then be sold commercially. So,
Oh.
although I'm snap for getting our artists.
Yes,
just
absolutely.
FYI, if you come up with a logo or something like that on Canva, slap that on a t-shirt, slap that on a sticker. If you're paying for that pro
You can
version,
sell it.
those are assets now for you to use commercially.
That's so cool. I didn't realize. I mean, I guess I never thought about that question, which is important to think about. Copyright. But yeah, Canva. So recently, I have started a retreat that I mentioned earlier, and I have been the graphic designer for everything, Instagram, and even the whole website. And Canva will build an entire website for you now. If you make a graphic and you also need that same graphic sized for, say, an Instagram story, or the annoying size for the Facebook top thing that's like a weird size, you just click this little button, magic button. If you pay for the pro account, it's called resize. It takes every element from your design and it goes bloop, and it puts it in the new size. And then you just make slight adjustments and boom, you have an entire folder of every graphic you need, and it has changed my life. Truly, I don't have to spend weeks waiting for a designer and hundreds of dollars on a designer. I can just say, I want this retreat to look like these things, and you type it in. And I mean, I hate AI, but it's on Canva, and they tell you, like, here's, you want divine feminine, here's every graphic we have, and you're like, boom, there it is. So it does help the artist quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I do want a lot of these workshops to have some very applicable, like you can go home and be like, oh, I heard about this thing and I'm going to get on there. And I just also want to second Canva and like, or third or fourth or fifth Canva.
Yeah.
And again, I have the pro version of Canva. I use it all the time. And I'm a hardcore Photoshop person. I've been using Photoshop for a long time. I love Photoshop, and I barely touch my Photoshop anymore because Canva is just so great for that. And when you were talking about copyright, I used to be the type of person that would find a lot of public domain stuff to make sure I wasn't skirting copyright, and I have a lot of resources around that, which I'm happy to share. So that's why I really did the research about, can I use these graphics for my merchandise? And I was pleasantly surprised to find that as long as you're altering it in some way on Canva, you can use them commercially. And I think that's really important for
videos are so good. I love them.
And so when you're looking for a singer, make sure she knows about graphics.
We have cards, we hired people to make these because I got really tired of doing everything myself and wearing like 12 different hats. And I was not trained as a musician, was not like trained for school for I went to school for theater, costume design, not for like graphic design or literally anything that we like really need to use in our career right now. I incorporate a lot of costume design into our career just because that is what I normally do. So that is where, our look comes from. I'm a wardrobe counselor for this one. I will take credit for everything because I thought it all the time. But I think going to any kind of design school, any kind of art school, you get the foundation, right? Like you know color theory, you know composition theory, like balance and mixing textures and whatever, like in aesthetic design. And then I started like most of what I learned that was like Google and YouTube and like I followed really cool creators on my personal Instagram page, and I'm the one who couldn't design a band name. Started a band with Sean when we first moved to town.
Hey.
I discovered
All roads lead to Sean.
did all of the art for that. When I found following the one day. So for Stigma, we were a country cover band because I thought that would be marketable.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not particularly a fan of country music. And did all like screen printing and stuff for that, and that just kind of killed me. I don't know. I know some bands like straight local or that are really like making their own shirts for a lot of times. I don't know if people in here make their own stuff. But I have a question for you about where you got those hats. And who y'all are using for screen printers and things like that. But in terms of like our branding, it was we are a cover band, and we wanted to now switching from like Stigma, which was very these stick figures who were robbing a bank, put on a T-shirt, really realistic faces. And,
Weirdly accurate faces.
yeah, weirdly, I worked really hard on that. And I was a singer, and like had this little like old school revolver, like yeah, we're gonna hit you with it. Everybody else had their instruments, we had like guitar. It's like okay, whatever. But then there were like too niche things, and I was like, it's not about me anymore. So we sort of like switched gears, and now we're like hyper feminine, super safe space. Like I really wanted our brand to say like this is a safe space for people who are cool and have colorful hair. We do a lot of Y2K pop and boy bands and Britney Spears and a lot of Taylor Swift.
Woo!
Now that she's in a recording, here's been
That's amazing.
And so for these cards and like our current branding, we hired SSM downtown, which Emily and Pearl. And I think it was helpful, like if you want to go that route. I believe it's more expensive than but they helped build us a new website. They helped us kind of get our SEO together. And kind of distill down like where we were, which was kind of playing bars, and where we wanted to be, which was paying our bills with just music. And so that's private events, weddings, and certain like town kind of events, like the boardwalk, the last festivals, you know. So getting this really like hyper
And sometimes it turns into so much that how much are you focusing on your music now?
Yeah.
So sometimes it is, even if it's a little bit more expensive or whatever, sometimes it is worth parsing it out to some other folks because you end up overwhelming yourself with all of these other parts of business that you're like, when was the last time I picked up my guitar?
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that up because I think that that's important. And Joel, I hate to single you out too, but actually I love to. There's a lot of different bands in town. So can you speak to any of them on like the branding and just like the consistency of that, especially your own? I know that Rounder Cowboys, speaking of using local artists, uses a lovely live painting that our friend Linda did.
Yeah.
And Linda Flynn goes around and paints people who are performing in town, which I think is just so much fun.
That's cool.
And so I see that graphic all the time, and when I think of y'all, I actually think of that, of Linda's painting.
Oh, that's
a lot.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. She's so sweet.
she is.
Yeah, it was cool. Trying to remember the first time I ever saw her was I don't think we've been playing in town very long. I think it might have been at Tails. It was a long time ago. Remember Tails Piano Bar? But yeah, it's just cool. Like she goes in and out of town, traveling around selling her art, so she'll go up and down the coast. But when she's in town, you might not know when she's gonna be back, but she'll like stop in and like catch her show, and sit there and paint, or like I've been at other people's shows and I've seen her over there in the corner and I'll try over to see what she's working on. You know, she's is very consistent. Like always out capturing what's going on. And it meant a lot to us. I think that she did that for us, and she didn't even charge us. Like she would let us pay her for it, you know. And when we were looking around to decide what we wanted to use, like it seemed like the right thing. You know, it's just like kind of captured the band while we're playing, but it wasn't like there's just enough of like that endearing kind of like hand-drawn vibe of it. It's just cool.
It seems to me that Rounder Cowboys also has like a very particular font that you use a lot. That maybe it was that font that was on that album.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's good. I think I was being very intentional about it.
Oh, okay. You know, just on the subject of like applicable websites, defonts.com, is that something that you guys use?
I like Creative Marketplace. too.
Creative Marketplace.
I don't know.
We got a logo.
Okay.
There's I'm trying to remember the name. It's Elite Graphics is their company. Laura Yates. She might have a different last name. She goes around and does a lot of the businesses in town, so like paint murals on their side of the buildings.
Yeah.
She did the one at what's that cider place?
Cool City Cyberworks?
Yeah.
Oh, I love the murals in there, yeah.
Yeah. So she's pretty talented. So she made our logo for us and has designed that album artwork.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was such a great investment. Like I would never be able to just have the mind and the creativity that she has. Like that's what she works at all the time. So it makes sense to like pay somebody to do that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to mention, we're talking about things like Canva and Devon and some other resources, and my intention is to email y'all with some of this after the fact. So if you're like, what did they say? Oh, I didn't write it down, don't worry, as long as it's cool with everybody. I'm going to send you sort of a follow-up email with some of the things that we talked about, some of the websites to go to, and a couple of other articles and things like that on the subject. So I just want to hit on something real quick because we kind of talked about it, and Amanda, you kind of brought it up because you were talking about how you love fashion and theater, and that's very clear when you are going to perform, you dress up to perform, and I'm the same way. And Rebekah, I think that for you, the fashion kind of comes into it as well. It becomes sort of
Thanks.
part of the show. And it also seems that you, in the same way, are supporting other artists and artisans by kind of representing their stuff. Can you just talk to that a little bit about that?
Sure. Thank you for saying that. Okay, we're talking about being authentic in our branding, right? There was a time back in the day when it was me solo forever ago. I was very folky and my music was very folky and I was broke as a joke. So I would go to the thrift store and I would find the cutest old, like slightly dry rotted dress, and try to wear it for as long as I could. And it was very old school, like, country looking, a lot of browns and plaid. The dress.
That's on the internet?
Oh yeah, it's on the internet. I don't know. If you just scroll down far enough, you'll find it. I look, I have brown hair, and
I sent you that picture from the whiskey.
that's right.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God.
Okay, so that's a great example. So I went from folk, and then I had Rebekah Todd in the Odyssey, and we were like pretty much just straight up rock, right, for the most part. And then there was me on the guitar, and that was more black pants, like black jeans, and very kind of rockin'. Then something happened where I started to say, I just want to be comfortable on stage. So I started to go, well, what do I want to wear on stage? I want to wear really comfortable pajamas. So I started going to Target and Old Navy and finding like one color yoga pants and stuff. And that's like all I wear now. Or I'll go on Instagram and find some shiny, whoa, hello. That just flew out of my body. There are moths inside of me, speaking of my brand. Oh, no, but yeah, I wanted to be comfortable. And I feel like solid colors, it kind of forces the brand to be me. When it's just a solid color, there's nothing to, it's not like here's some leather, so that means rock. Because people will do that. Like any texture you choose, like, okay, you've got this hat on. I'm going to like assume that, it means indie folk or indie rock. Like, what? Do you have a brand that you think of?
At the moment I'm kind of working on it, but I got a little bit of a blues rock kind of thing going on.
Okay.
So your rock assumption is
Yeah.
spot on.
Yeah. It's so funny. And I hate it. It stinks to have to think about little things like texture, but it does matter. A leather shoe. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you guys with that. I was going to go down a rabbit hole, but yeah. Yeah. Thanks. And,
Sorry, you have a point though. We're very visual creatures. And
We are.
And what you decide to put on yourself dictates what people think of you.
yes. And so, okay, I'll go a little deeper down the rabbit hole. From the female perspective in the music industry, for a long time, it was like, in my life, personally speaking, it was the thing that is allowed in the music industry to get you further is sexy. Sexy, 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 sexy. If you're going to dress sexy, we will give you a higher slot. And at first, I went down that rabbit hole. I bit a little bit, and I was wearing like stiletto heels on stage, which was terrible. I'm playing on these wooden stages with gaps in between the wood and a stiletto. It's awful. And then I started to say, you know what? I don't want to wear a low-cut shirt. I actually want to like wear something like this where it's covering basically everything, and I am just a shape up there, and this is my music. So I kind of had to really think about that. I love Sylvan Esso because she just started coming out on stage dressed as a giant loofah. And she's like, you want me to have like some feminine shape or whatever you want to project onto me? Well, project onto this, MF. This is a loofah. What are you going to make out of that? So, yeah, I would say don't listen to like what the industry wants you to be, especially as females, because it won't get you very far. In fact, it will get you the wrong kind of attention. Recently, I was made uncomfortable and I was flirted with quite a bit by a venue festival owner, and I said, hey, I don't really like this. I'm uncomfortable. I would like to stop. And it didn't stop. So I finally pulled myself out of that situation, and I received severe backlash for that. And speaking of authenticity and your branding, it was very scary, and I lost a large chunk of my fan base. And you can see that on Instagram. You can look at the graph that you get, and you can see it go down. But something amazing happened. Because I was authentic and I stood up for myself, all these other people that agreed with that kind of branding of like loving yourself and being authentic and saying, I don't want to be sexy for you. I want to be a musician, you know. Unfortunately, those are two brands in the world right now. There's sexy female and there's female who's trying. Well, we're all trying, but there's someone who's saying, I'm not doing that anymore. And we're kind of there right now. Gen Z is pushing this new thing. We're all wearing mom jeans and big wedge shoes and baggy shirts. And I love that because I'm in this weird middle where I'm not Gen Z. I'm from the era of sexy. And Gen Z is creating space for me to be who I want to be. So in what I'm trying to say is I lost a large percentage of my fan base, but at the end of the day, I gained 400 followers in like 3 days because I stood up for myself. So it's kind of like good riddance. Be your authentic self, you know.
But thank you so much for sharing that. And
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that that happened to you, but thank you for sharing that story because that's really what this workshop is really about. Is that idea that you can think, well, I have 1,000 followers, and then the minute that you stand up for yourself, you lose your fan base. Is that your fan base?
Right.
And is that the fan base you want?
No.
And if people are coming out to see you and suddenly you're dressed whatever in a different way, and people go, well, where's the stilettos and where's the corset? Is that the fan base you want?
Right.
So thinking about the fan base you want, the people that are going to stay loyal to you and your vision as an artist and your music, not what they think you should be and think musicians should be, that's sort of the heart of what we're talking about here. So the value, even though it can be, I'm sure it was very scary to see this sudden drop and dip and be, oh my God, did I make a mistake?
Right.
Doing this for myself and speaking out for myself because now I've lost this fan base, but then to regain it and say, oh, people are still listening. And the people, those, even if you lost 1,000 but gained back 400, those 400 people are those true
I
fans.
gained back 1,400 if we're looking at it like that. You know what I mean? I lost 1,000, gained 14, and it was like, fuck you. Yeah.
And those are 1,400 fans that are going to stay true to you.
That's right.
Because they came in at this point.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a very important story, and I really appreciate. And it's a great segue into our other questioning of how do you sort of find that true audience, and how do you stay connected to your fans as you're going along? Brian, I think that you're in a unique position as well because you're playing a lot of us kind of, I mean, I can speak for myself, I can speak for some other folks I see in the room. Our bread and butter is a lot of bar gigs, cover music, and stuff like that. We throw our originals out there when we can, and we try to get our original stuff. Your band is doing a lot of original music, and it's aggressive instrumental. It's a unique genre, and it seems like it might be difficult to sort of carve out where is your audience, where are our fans. So how do you go about finding those fans and staying connected to them?
So when we first started, we kind of wrote more in the sense of like, let's throw a dart on the board. Let's see if it happens. Let's see if it sticks. So there was things that we were just doing just to do it because it's like, oh, we're cool. We could do these really technical things. But when we started playing them out, people would just be watching. And while maybe some people were like, this is really cool, it's like, does any of this stuff really sticking? And so I feel like we found our like true audience through the trial and error of like playing in front of this crowd. We've traveled, we've been to like Virginia, we've been to many parts of North Carolina, which I'm extremely grateful for all that because honestly, I didn't think I was gonna even get to where it is now. And I think that's the best way is to find your true audience, is to really go and just put it out there, like, and be confident, own it 100%. Like, because I go up on stage every day. Oh, not every day, but I wish. But every time we get a show and I go up there and I'm headbanging, I'm moving around. My buddy Paul is jumping off the whatever the hell he wants to, and we're having the time of our lives, and we really want to show that. And I feel like it gets infectious, and then people start moving around and drinks start to get spilled and stuff. But I feel like that's the best way that we found it. And then the way we connect with our fans is definitely after a show, like after we're done, we hang out at our merch table, and you want to make some sales, of course. You want to make some money. That's always nice, especially if you've traveled out like 5 hours. We've been to Boone, we've been to Asheville, we've been to. I want to go to Tennessee. That's on my list. But anyways, and it's really important to just really hang out and talk to everybody. Like, even if sometimes they kind of get a little, they come off strong or something like that. Like, some people have definitely messaged me like a little bit more, or just randomly called me. I'm having dinner with my girlfriend, and I look over, I get a phone call, and I don't know this person like that. She's like, who's that? Oh, baby, I don't know. Likely story. But I swear. But there is a level to connecting with your fans where they, obviously, if they, like I said, they come off a little too strong, like, let them know, like, hey, man, I'm just having some dinner. This literally actually happened yesterday. That's why I'm bringing this one up. Yeah. It's
So there's a connecting with your fans, and then there's like a limit.
yeah. I mean, Rebekah probably had the best experience with the calling the limit there. Like, hey, like, I'm a human too, man. You know what I mean? Like, I just worked my 9 to 5, but I also get messages of people who will say, hey, like, your show really inspired me to pick up my instrument again. Your show made me want to go and try to meet some people who are like-minded individuals who are writing music that isn't the norm. And I tell them, like, dude, go do it. Like, you know what I mean? You're gonna find somebody, man. Like, even if it takes a long time, like, because I never thought I would find anybody. I just roamed into Music Loft one day, and I remember, like, yesterday, my friend Michael comes up to me. He has the biggest thing of coffee I've ever seen, and he's like, hey, you want to buy a guitar? And I'm just like, nah, bro, I'm just here to hang out. And then he invites me over, and then I'm where I am now. So, like I said, just really stick true to yourself, and be kind to your fans, even if they are getting a little coming on strong. Yeah, let them know, hey, I'm trying to sleep. But
Brian, we were chatting the other day, and you mentioned that you have found yourself opening for some bands that you used to love.
Yes.
You were playing music. That must be sort of a great sign that you're finding the right audience and playing at the right places that you get to have that
for
experience.
me, I think the biggest one was we opened up for one of my favorite bands. I have their tapestry on my wall and stuff. Is their name? They go by Born of Osiris, and I think I'm 30 now. I listened to them when I was like 19, 20, little angsty fucker. Oh, can I curse? Is it cool? All right. Little angsty fucker, just moved from New York to North Carolina, doesn't know anything, and just, like, knows about music. And I slept to music, and they were the band that, like, I didn't have anything, so I would just be in my own little corner sleeping to that stuff, and then I'm opening up for them. So that was a huge highlight for me, and I'm sure my bandmates, they have their own, but personally, I think that was one that I was like, okay, we're doing something here. So Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro, shout out to all you guys out there. If any of you are checking this out, man, like, you guys have been showing a lot of love to us. Wilmington definitely shows love to us, and I love all you guys out here. So thank you for everything.
Brian, the same note as Rebekah, 'cause she switched what she was wearing because the music speaks for itself. Talk about what you guys wear on stage.
What do you mean? It depends on the weather. Is that what you're asking?
I'm just saying because Alex is usually basically naked, isn't he?
Yeah. So
Paul's usually in a skirt.
yeah. So I'm either, depending on the weather, I'm either wearing all black or something a little more formal. So I'll wear like a little button up or something like that. But if it's hot, shirt's coming off. I don't care. It's too hot. A little. I'm shy. But my drummer, he'll start with a t-shirt and some shorts. Well, like some I don't even know. They're like swim shorts or swim trunks, actually. Yeah. And then literally we play one song and he's already sweating. He's naked. And Paul, bless his soul, man, he comes up and he's either wearing his grandma's dress or a nice like skirt that he found, some fishnets. And he's like 100 pounds, low guy.
Paul has a distinctive.
Yeah. But he'll always ask me, what are you wearing tonight?
Aw.
And I'll tell him. I'm like, I'm gonna wear, black with some green. And he's like, all right, cool. So he'll coordinate with me, which is awesome.
That's cool.
But then, like I said, if it's too hot, yeah, we're all just yeah, take it off because it's too much. Yeah, we were at in Raleigh and we were just like, nah, can't do this today. But yes, that is our aesthetic. Depends on the weather for sure. But a lot of the times, yeah, check out Paul and Alex. They're usually the ones they're going for the skin.
Emily, how did you not just find your fans for your music, but also for Voice and Pen, trying to find those venues and those folks? That seems like a whole nother battle. So for both your music and for Voice and Pen, how are you able to find, where's the audience for it? How are you able to find it?
For Voice on the Pen, it was the idea was brought to me by the other musician that I started it with, and I used to live in Nashville, and there's a Bluebird Cafe in Nashville, and it was kind of like Wilmington needs something like that. We have Live at Ted's, which is a listening room. So we have what that is, the certified listening room. But we just wanted to create something where we could pull from the local musicians and choose a venue that might be a spot that people would be quiet and listen. So the Real Cafe was our first location, and it was on the second floor. So we actually, there's a stage up there and the bar, and then we put seats out, and we made it kind of like a more intimate place to be, and really tried to put it out there to people that this was a listening room event, and kind of like spread the word on that to this is really, come listen, this is all original music. This is what this is about, and we wanted to create this big new thing for Wilmington that was not a steady thing that had lasted for a really long time. I think, Carrie Benjamin had done something similar at 7 Mile Post, but it was so loud in there, and it wasn't exclusively original music. It was covers and originals. I'm sure you played it. I know you played it. I played it. And so we just wanted it to be all about what the musicians in town are writing themselves, and give them another spot to play where it wasn't just covers, because covers, like you said, bread and butter. It's great to do covers, do your own version of covers, but to do your own music and have people listen and not talk over that is that's the goal, right? So, finding the audience for that, Rebekah played the first one, and we had so many people come out to the first one, and I think it was I looked around and I saw so many musicians. It brought all the musicians out, and it really we've talked about this too, helped to make the community get together and actually know each other, because it's we knew other people's names. I knew names of the other people who did what I did, but I didn't really know them, And I think that's one of the coolest things that has come from it, is that I know more personally the musicians in town, and I met Amanda and Travis there. They came to every single one for a while, yeah. But as far as drawing the audience and the fans, it drew a lot of creative people, and real music lovers, not just the people who want to hear Freebird every time you're playing a show or whatever cover it may be. And those people really wanted to listen to the music, so.
And it seems like one way that Voice and Pen is staying connected to fans is through things like this. You set up streaming for those showcases, for things like this, so it's available, it's accessible to people even if they can't make it, and it feels like that's a good idea, and that you get a lot of folks going to your YouTube or your Facebook to kind of stay connected through social media and other sites like that.
Yeah, and it also, we're at Live at Ted's now. We bounced around to a couple places, and Live at Ted's is the perfect venue for us because as I said, it's a listening room. But the cool thing about it being there is that a lot of people didn't know about Live at Ted's yet. So like people will come and they'll show up and they'll be like, oh, I didn't know this was here. And you're like to me, I'm kind of like, how? Like, don't you like look to see what all is in town? Like, especially if you're a musician or someone who likes music. I'm like, how did you not know this was here? Right. Right. It's been here for as long as I've lived here, which is 10 plus years. So, going back to finding the creative people in your community, I love that it's introducing people to Live at Ted's, and now they know it's there, and they can look up the schedule and go buy tickets for another show, you know? Yeah. I'm not sure I can speak too much to my own personal audience. I do like to give people what they want to hear. So I'm one of those who, if I'm out playing covers, I'll ask if anybody has requests. I know you posted this big long thing about covers and like what covers are overdone and all this.
I make all my money in the cover.
Yeah, of course. And if someone wants to hear a song, I mean, you know, it's like there are songs that I definitely don't like to cover, but if somebody wants to hear that song, you know, I am entertaining you. That's what I'm here for. So if I can play it, I'm going to play it for you. And then just like talking to people. It's weird. When I first started playing, there was always somebody at the end of the show who wanted to talk to me. And so that's the connection piece, you know, like taking the time at the end. Right. Yeah, you're kind of like, okay, I really need to go, but all right. But yeah, but taking the time to talk to those people and being open to that too, like when you're packing up or whatever it may be, being open to talking to people and sharing if they're asking you about your music and, you know, is this what you do for a living, or like, do you have original stuff, or how can I follow you, you know, and just sharing that a little bit throughout your set, telling people who you are, making sure, which is still a challenge for me to say my name multiple times, but to throw out the social media tags and let people know how to find you, and that you are on Spotify and that you do have original stuff out there. That's very important. So that's what I'll say about connecting with fans.
Well, you're in a kind of the other side of the coin here, because this is your place and you want to get your audience to find you, as opposed to most of us trying to find our venues and find our audience out there. So how is the painter and the poet sort of finding their audience and bringing them into this location?
Well, first thing, we changed the N to an M. So we don't have fans, we have fam. That's how we do that. And I don't know, I moved to Wilmington maybe 2.5 years ago, been doing this thing for about 18 months. It's consistency. I'm very good at like sitting down, selling myself, selling my idea, and people genuinely believing in it and wanting to be a part of it and helping out and that type of sense. And we have a lot of similarities as far as like what we created, you with the voice and the pen, me with the painter and the poet, because one of my biggest things that I always say is it's a dry place. We don't sell no alcohol, can't drink no alcohol on the premise. So it really gives an artist to come in and not have that type of distraction. And that was one of my really, really, really big key points in building this, because it just always seemed like when I was first getting out and I was first on the circuit and I'm going to these open mics and I'm going to these shows, everything is so loud and the music is getting lost with the drinks, people yelling, people not focusing. And I'm like, nah, that's not what we're gonna do. I know I'm very, very, very passionate about my craft, whether it be poetry, whether it be the painter and the poet, whether it be whatever it is that I'm doing at that time. I put my all into it. And then I come here to this building and I start to put my all into it. And I look for like-minded individuals who want to share something like that, who want to be a part of something like that. You need to talk about community, right? You want to talk about family, right? You want to talk about bringing people together in a positive, safe sense where we're all able to create, where we're all able to network. Just doing something like this where we're all able to sit down and have a conversation about what do we want? How do we get there? And instead of competing, becoming one. You build a community big enough where everybody gives a little bit. The community gets bigger, and now we have a lot. It's a real simple idea. And when I go out and I say these things to people and I speak with passion and conviction, people are like, well, yeah, I'll check you out. Let's see what's going on over there. And I have different events that go on. And one of the most interesting things I've not heard since I've been here, how many times that this is my place. I don't tell people that. I don't walk around like it's my place. I sit down and I watch interactions. I watch engagements. I see how people are responding. And I notice different events bring different types of group of people. So if we're doing poetry, I see all the poetry has come out. If we're doing a guided painting, I see all the guided paintings. And even still, certain shows, I feel like there should be more people here. First thing I tell myself with that, when that comes across, is who's supposed to be here will. But it's the consistency, making sure it's there so people can come and building off of that. And then when you sit in atmosphere or an environment that's intimate, it helps change that word from an N to an M. And we become family. That's all I got to say about that.
I guess connecting with fans, I like to think of every artist and musician, we're all vessels, right? I think of us as vessels just here to express our version of our human experience, and it's all completely different. We're all going through completely different things. Everybody in this room looks very different from one another, which is excellent, you know, and it's up to us to make art about our experience and not tailor it to anyone else. And that's a big thing that I've had to learn in my career so far, is even the hard things that seem so specific and it seems like, oh, no one's going to really understand that. You'd be so surprised, you know. If you make art about that specific thing, those other people that are looking for someone else's voice to reconfirm or reaffirm their experience, they will follow that. And another thing, other than talking about like the hard stuff in your art, is taking a break. I think that's a really important way to connect with your audience. I was forced into a long hiatus in 2018 all the way to 2021, and I thought it was going to ruin me. And the band was doing very well up until that point as Rebekah Todd in the Odyssey. And then my mom got sick, and I was forced to take a break, and I thought, this is it. It's over. 3 years, like, I'm dead in the water, you know? And then I said to my fan base, who was still on Facebook and Instagram, they didn't go anywhere, hey, everybody, if anyone's out there, I'm going to do another Kickstarter and write another album. And it was like they came in droves, you know? And there was a new story to tell because I had been through a bunch of shit. And so I put it into an album. And now we've toured that album for 2 years. I'm exhausted. In case you can't tell by the bags under my eyes, I'm so tired and I'm ready for a break. And I don't have anything else to say because I haven't been experiencing anything other than nasty bathrooms, cold concrete floors, dark venues that then get a little humid from everybody's sweat and breath. That has been 2 years. And I can't write I could write an album off of that, but I want to like pause. Like, okay, fine, I'll write it. Okay. No, but I want to take a little break. So I'm actually about to embark. And I think it's so important to look at the break as its own odyssey, The break is so crucial. You need to go stand in a field. You need to go to the movies. You need to go eat some really good food somewhere, or some really bad food. Sleep on a floor, live in a van, whatever you got to do, and get the story, and then share the story. So, yeah.
I relate to that. It's time for me to take a break.
Take a break. I encourage it.
I need it, and I have a lot to talk about too. I think that is a very key point. And anything that we do, everything in moderation, including moderation. Gotta rest. Gotta give yourself time to bring it back in. It's a very good point.
And the fans will not leave. They will be there when you come back. That's hard to know, but now that I've experienced it, they'll be there.
I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
And I think that another thing that we're all saying, and I think is really at the heart of authenticity and cultivating an authentic audience, is that storytelling. We all have stories, and when I've asked you questions, instead of just answering it directly, they've been like, oh, when I was in 4th grade, this thing happened. Oh, well, there used to be this little place on the corner, blah, 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 blah. That is what people are relating to. That is what people want to hear. We're storytellers in that way. And I think that finding out what your story is and really kind of doing that soul searching to bring that out is so important. And a lot of times that can only be done when you're kind of on a break. That's when you're reassessing. That's when you're sort of entering your mind and your heart and pulling that out of yourself, because otherwise you're just in go mode all the time. Yeah. And you don't have time for that to happen. And it's kind of one of those, you can't pour tea into a cup that's already full type of thing. You can't get new stuff coming in when you're keeping yourself constantly busy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say any more about that before people start to call me a hypocrite. Anyway.
Oh.
We have covered most of the questions on here. So really what I want to do at this point is just ask if there's any other little pieces of advice that the panel wants to sort of dole out there to our folks. And then if there are any questions from anyone else, or just even discussion points that someone else wants to speak to. Like I said, we have a lot of folks here who are gigging, working, professional musicians in their own right, if you want to share something. But panel, is there anybody up there that wants to say a couple final words from everybody? We can start with Rebekah.
I'd like to thank God. No.
The Academy.
I don't have anything to say. Thank you, Mlk, for providing this space. Really appreciate it.
Ooh. Oh, that was very kind. I got to thank this one over here for putting it together.
Yeah,
Shout out to you,
Delia.
Delia. Y'all really snap for her real quick. Consistency and staying true to yourself and everything that you do is going to be your key components of success. That's it.
Yeah, I think just what comes to me is just, if you want to do music, if you want to do this or whatever your creative path is, don't give up on it, because I feel like there will be times that you'll think maybe I should just stop doing this. But yeah, be authentic, and don't do things that social media tells you to do just because that's the trend. But do what is like authentic to you, as we're talking about, and just keep doing it.
I'm going to piggyback and say that, don't give up. There's been plenty of times where I drive for a living, and I'm just sitting in the truck, and I'm just like, what am I doing, man? I'm like 30 years old. I got 2 kids. It's like but then it's like at the same time, I'm like asking myself, well, what kind of story am I going to tell them when it's like, I stopped because I just kept doubting myself. And then I would talk to my bandmates about it, and of course they're going to be like, don't quit. But they meant it in a very genuine way. Like, they cared, and they know that I get like these episodes where I'm just like freaking out, and I'm like, yo, we're not doing anything, isn't that? And I think on top of that, definitely stay true to yourself. Some of the music, like I said, the music that we write, I mean, I know it's possibly not like the most accessible thing, but it's always worth it when I just get a random message on Facebook, and then somebody says, hey, like, I've been listening to your stuff nonstop, or hey, like, I want to go play my instrument, and hey, like, you guys are so infectious with your energy on stage, and you really make me want to be there. So I think stuff like that makes me just kind of think like, yeah, don't stop doing what you're doing, even though it's like this is the standard that life you're supposed to be, the house and all this and that, the white picket fence or whatever. But then this is my life, and I'm happy. I love it, and I don't think I would decide on anything else. I think I would keep doing what I'm doing. So definitely stay true to yourself. Believe in everything that you do. There's gonna be somebody out there that's gonna want to play music with you and enjoy your music. So keep at it.
And I just want to also say to that, like, as all the different types of art and artists, all the different types of art that I do as an artist in many ways, the self-doubt and the idea of, like, maybe I should just quit this, it happens all the time. All the time. So just be like, yeah, I know. And keep going. Because it happens constantly. It happens in the middle of a painting. It happens in the middle of a song. You write 5 songs, you're like, it's all garbage. Don't throw it away.
I think that way.
That's just a thing that the creative brain does.
It means that you care.
Accept it. Say, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I think that way. Then we play a show, and I'm just like, nah, nah. Sign me up. Let's do it again. Let's run another set. Let's go again.
And I think that I've had to come to accept that inclination of, forget it, what am I doing? I'm terrible, it's whatever, this is terrible. It happens. And it happens to creative people all the time, and it's just part of the show, and you just say, all right, and feel through it, let it pass, keep going.
Yeah.
And I think part of this idea of the workshops that we're trying to do is to say that there is a path here. There is. And we're so frequently told that there's not. And to find success, we have to define success. And we have to define success. Because if we don't, other people are going to try to do that for us. And then people are like, well, you're not famous, so that must mean you're not successful. Well, that's not what the only path is here.
Yeah.
So these kind of creative career workshops are about finding those paths for ourselves and how we can do that and make that work. And it can work. And our panelists are examples of that. Many of us in this room are examples of that. Wilmington is full of examples like that, and so are our surrounding areas. So thank y'all.
Yep.
Participants, do you have